Hi darlings, thank you so much for joining me on my channel. Today I have a process Bible journaling page for you, and it is from the By the Well for God, God's Glory, or For the Glory of God devotional. And I am in day 1, and I am going to start off. I am in my Interleave Bible, and I am journaling in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 31. And I am going to start off with making my background. So in this first day, Tom starts talking to us about how we should do everything for the glory of God as directed. They go into the history of Paul and the history of the Church of Corinth. And I had studied Paul and his missionary trip, and I had studied also the Church of Corinth last month. So this was, 2 months ago. And this was actually very good to actually see it pop up again and to actually know the content. So I love that I was able to put 2 and 2 together as I was reading this first day. So he talks about how it was not just because obviously the verse says, whatever you do, whether you eat or you drink, right? He was talking about how Paul was not necessarily restricting this to eating and drinking, although he was directing that to the Corinthians so that they wouldn't eat or drink things that were, for example, for other idols. But this is actually a broader statement for us. And I love when he said that, because I automatically thought in my head, this is sort of a fill in the blank type of verse where Paul is saying whether you eat or you drink, and then towards the bottom it says whatever you do, do it for the glory of God. And when I see that eat and drink, in my head, I'm putting a 2 blank points. So whatever circumstance that I am facing at that moment, I would like to fill that in. That way it could be whether you work or don't work, whether you rest or, put in all your effort, do it for the glory of God. I hope that makes sense. So that's kind of my thinking and my process as I was doing this page. I was meditating on that, and what I'm doing is I use 2 different color chalk inks to kind of put some color in the back. I wanted to do some tone on tone. And I also wanted to stamp out my title really boldly with this beautiful new alpha stamp that is in the shop. It is the Ruth stamp, alpha stamp. And so I went ahead and I stamped this out really big. I'm loving this big, bold stamp. I just love that it's just the outline. It kind of leaves a lot for you to do. You can fill it in. I love that you can watercolor it in. So I love that. I love that it was kind of just an outline. There's also a matching stamp. And so for numbers. And so I also got the little apostrophe from there. It was a semicolon, but I only inked up half of it. That way I can do the apostrophe for this word. So you see me finish it off with do it all for God's glory right here. I'm going to press down really good. The black ink I'm using is my favorite, the VersaFine ink. And now I'm going to use the stencil. This stencil sewed out quick, as all of them do, and I really love it. This, I hope I'm saying it right, Franz, F-R-O-N-D-S stencil, I think will be great for doing lots of beautiful backgrounds. I was going to use this round brush, but it was actually full of blue ink, so I'm going to go ahead and continue to use the brush that I was using. And this brush is actually a dollar store brush. I got it at Dollar Tree. I think they're blush brushes, and so they actually ink up pretty well, as you can see there. So I'm doing a little tone on tone here, and I'm just going to continue to move the stencil from corner to corner to fill up some of that white space gap. And now I'm going to move towards the top of the page. I really love that they make the stencil sort of a continuous stencil. They also do this with stamps. Most of the time you can actually continue it from one side to another. I love that. And if you don't bump too much into the edge, you won't get that very harsh edge line. If you can see here, I was able to kind of go around that. I was going to use this small stamp, but I thought it would be way too small and would kind of get lost because the other ones were so bold. So I decided to go against that alpha. And now I want to find somewhere to put my journaling. So I'm going to do that as well. So I'm going to use this glory, taking off the other one. So with the kit, this is one of the stamps that comes with the kit. It has glory in the middle, and I'm going to use one of the Messy Jessica. I'm going to use one of the tags in the ephemera pack, and I'm going to stamp glory on the side. And it's the same alpha, but it is actually bold. It's a little smaller, but it's the same font. It's just not outlined, but I love that cohesiveness there. So I'm gonna undo the fabric clippy, and then I'm gonna use just one, because you know it comes with 2 plies. I'm gonna use one, and then I'm gonna grab my tiny attacher so I can go ahead and clip that on. And now I can use the back so I can write out my journaling. And basically I'm just writing to myself and saying, Jessica, whatever you do in your life, fill in the blank in this verse and do it all for the glory of God, and not to put any other reason before the glory of God, because essentially we should all be doing things for his glory, because if it's not for his glory, then whose glory is it for? And we can fall into doing things for selfish reasons. And in order for us to prosper, I believe God should be at the forefront. So I kind of do a little bit of journaling in the back, saying that, and then I kind of write out the verse in the front, and then creating those fill in the blanks, like I had mentioned in my head. I love wordplay, so that's actually a great way for me to really remember to apply this verse to my life, because it's not just about reading these devotionals, or memorizing the verses, but it's also about finding ways to apply it to our everyday life. I think that's extremely important, and I will be praying that I will continue to try and apply this to my life. So I'm going to grab my pen, and I'm just going to fill in a little bit of the alphas here. There was a couple of places where the impression didn't go all the way through. Not a lot, just a little, just lining it out. And so here in this God's Glory stamp set, this was an additional stamp set that you could have gotten. I'm going to get another Franz. I hope I'm saying that right. And I'm going to ink that up with the VersaFine ink, and I'm going to go ahead and add that to 3 places on my page. This is going to add cohesiveness, and it's going to add a little bit more black, which I love. Then lastly, I'm going to go ahead and grab my watercolor brush and some of the Daniel Smith watercolors in black, and I'm going to add some splatters, just some black splatters. That's really going to bring the page together. If it would have just been the black on the alphas, I think it would have made it really doesn't make the page come together until I add a little bit more black, and there's more cohesiveness across the page, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna just take my heat tool and dry this up really good, and adding my clip to the top, and that is it. I'm going to give you a last look at my page. Thank you so much for joining me. I love you guys. Please consider subscribing, hit that like button, and thank you. Have a wonderful day. God bless.